Hi, and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Yoga. My name is Anika, and today we're going to look at yoga and relaxation. Most of us lead busy lives, and relaxation is often seen as being able to sit or lie down on the sofa, maybe watching TV or reading a book. Some people enjoy a more active way of relaxing, by gardening or going for a walk. But what about actually taking time out to practice relaxation techniques? This could be as simple as focusing on the breath. If you would like to try this, feel free to join in right now. So just finding a comfortable seated position, or if you're standing, just making sure you feel supported through the feet. And taking a moment to bring your focus towards the breath. Closing your eyes. Observing the natural inhale and exhale. And maybe noticing that there is a naturally occurring pause at the top of the inhalation and after you exhale. And as you remain focused on your breathing, if you like, maybe start to count the seconds in your mind as you're breathing in, and counting the seconds in your mind as you're breathing out. Still acknowledging the naturally occurring pauses, counting the length of your natural breath in your mind. And staying with this focus just for a moment longer. And then slowly letting go of the counting. And starting to relax the breath. And drawing your awareness back into the room. I have Emma Cole with me today. Emma teaches at the Float Spa. And she will also be teaching at the Brighton Yoga Festival on the 23rd of July at the Brighton Dome Corn Exchange, something to put in your diary. Welcome, Emma.
Hello.
Could you tell me, how did you first get into yoga?
Well, I started off as a professional dancer, so I had quite a vigorous dance training for 3 years. And around that time I found that I needed something to compensate for the strenuous physical activity that I was doing. Sometimes I would be doing 2 or 3 dance classes a day, maybe a gym session and a running session. And I found that I really needed to compensate for all of that kind of muscular activity in a way that allowed my muscles to lengthen out, elongate, to become more supple and stay really agile. I also loved the way that yoga made me feel inside, because as a young adult I started to realise that I wasn't really feeling much kind of inner peace within me, because I'd had quite a difficult childhood. So things that were coming up were symptoms of depression and things like that. And I found that yoga really helped me to not only manage those things, but also kind of look at them a bit more deeply and understand them and move through any difficult times in my life.
I think it's a story that we hear quite often, not just with yoga teachers, but also people that go to yoga classes, that practice yoga, that you can take so much away from the practice to help you, not just with your physical body, but also with your mind.
Yes, exactly that. I mean, let's face it, we all have our own personal struggles. So yoga is a great way to just nourish yourself, take care of yourself.
I definitely agree. What about your teaching background?
Okay, teaching background. Well, I started teaching quite some time ago now, but before I started teaching, I was working in a big yoga studio. And in that studio, there were over 200 classes on the timetable. So whenever I had a free moment, whenever I wasn't working, I would just try out whatever class was on the schedule. So in that way, I started to experience all different kinds of yoga, all different styles of yoga. And I realised that I loved them all. So there wasn't one particular style that I felt was better than another one. I thought they all gave me different things. But that said, the end result was always the same. I always felt great.
You teach at the moment at the Float Spa, you teach Vinyasa Flow and Restorative Yoga, kind of two different ends of the spectrum in terms of yoga styles.
Yes. Most people benefit from doing different styles as well, not just me, because we are not fixed human beings. I'm not a fixed person, you're not. We change. We change on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, on a month-to-month basis, and we change as we grow older. Things happen that are unexpected. Sometimes a health issue will come out of nowhere. And what happens when we offer, or when you can find that you tune into different styles of yoga, you're able to start to understand what you need on a day-to-day basis. So for example, if you were really full of energy and maybe even a bit of nervous energy and you just needed to kind of let off steam, you might choose to do an Ashtanga yoga practice or a Vinyasa flow yoga practice. You might not do a gentle, quiet practice if you're feeling really agitated. Otherwise, if you're feeling maybe exhausted or you're feeling a bit delicate, then you would probably choose to do a much more gentle yoga practice like Hatha flow, a gentle Hatha class, or a restorative yoga class.
And in a restorative yoga class, what is the practice like? What does it entail to do restorative yoga?
Well, restorative yoga, there are no prerequisites. You don't have to have any experience. You don't have to be an advanced practitioner, but at the same time, advanced practitioners also really enjoy this kind of practice because restorative yoga is a yoga style that's really for everybody, every level. It's more about undoing than doing. Beginners find it great because it's an unpressured way of beginning the yoga journey. There are no kind of massive, spectacular yoga poses that we do. Most of it is lying down on the ground. And we use props. So we use bolsters, pillows, yoga blocks. We place them in such a way that the body can just rest on them and completely relax. It's a kind of situation where you begin to let go of your body weight. You begin to let your weight sink into the ground and you really start to feel the support of the props underneath you. So in that way, it's a little bit like floating, like a therapeutic floating session.
Okay. So that sense of really allowing yourself to let go.
Yes, exactly. In the same way that you let your weight drop into the support of the props in a therapeutic floating session, the support of the body rests into the buoyancy of the salt water, a water that's, you know, got lots and lots of Epsom salts in it. So your body is able to just completely let go of tension, little by little by little. And when that happens, cortisol levels drop, the fight or flight response switches off, and it's really rather lovely.
Is there actually any specific health conditions or specific problems that people may have?
Sometimes we welcome people with various kinds of conditions such as ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, post-traumatic stress disorder, any kind of burnout or exhaustion or stress situation, insomnia, autoimmune disease, many things really. If you're suffering in any way, it's just a really nourishing, nurturing type of yoga. For me, I do restorative yoga as a preventative measure. I find that if I take the time out to rest, I can avoid stress and burnout. So for me, it's preventative.
So really this practice is good for all of us, especially for beginners, but also people who may have practiced yoga before, people with health conditions.
Yes.
And yeah, I was going to say I can actually vouch for this myself, because I was lucky enough to attend a workshop with you over the weekend, and it was definitely blissful. You at home can benefit from this in the second half of the program, when Emma will be teaching a restorative yoga practice. And you're welcome to join in with this. Maybe make a little bit of room on the floor now, so you can put some blankets and some props down, some cushions.
You're probably at home in your living room or somewhere like that. So I'm going to show you the kinds of things that you can use as props instead of having this yoga equipment here. First of all, you'll need a couple of blankets. So I've got 2 here, one big one, one smaller one. And then you'll need 2 to 3 blocks, or you can use something like a chunky book or a pillow even, if you've got a few small cushions. That will do the trick. Finally, you will need something very similar to this bolster here. This is a yoga bolster. What you can do is take a couple of blankets, nice thick blankets, and place them on top of one another. If not, you can use 2 to 3 towels, and then simply roll up your towels or your blankets and create something that looks similar to a bolster. It's not as big, but it will do the trick. So first of all, you're going to lay on your back, and you're going to support the backs of your knees with your bolster. So you're going to bring your bolster onto your mat, and then bring yourself around and place your legs over the bolster, lay down, and simply get comfortable. And so I would advise you at this point to cover yourself up, but I'm not going to, so you can see me clearly. But just make sure that you're nice and warm and comfortable. I'm going to let my legs completely relax. I'm going to relax my arms down by my sides, close my eyes. And then if you're doing this with me at home, just begin to focus on your breath. Just begin to take a few gentle breaths in and out. And feel the bolster underneath the legs. See if you can sense that your legs are being really propped up and supported by the bolster. And then notice all the parts of you that are in contact with the ground, like your heels, the sacrum, the lower back. Perhaps there's a little gap between the ground and the lower back. And then sensing the feeling of the upper body resting on the ground, the backs of the arms, backs of the hands. So as you're breathing, sense the feeling on the out breath. As you breathe out, the body can become heavier and heavier and can settle down into the ground, as if when the breath goes out, right at the very end of the out breath, you're the heaviest you can be, and you let the body weight drop, let the bones become heavy. And sensing the back of the head, can you feel the connection? Where do you feel the back of the head resting? And then just begin to explore the feeling of the back of the head resting on the ground by moving the head a little bit from one side to the other. And then you can begin to sense how the back of the skull is round. As you slowly move your head from one side to the other, just exploring the roundness of the back of the head, as if the head is like a bowl of water. And as you turn your head slowly from one side to the other, it's as if you want to keep the surface of the water in the bowl of the head really undisturbed. So you don't want to spill any water or splash the water surface. So you might sense with a heavy, heavy, heavy head that it contains liquid and that you're pouring the liquid in the bowl of your head from one side to the other. And as you do this for a few more quiet breaths, slow down even more and relax the jaw. And then to come up, we're going to just bring our hands to the belly. And you're going to bend one knee in and place the foot on the bolster or the blankets, and then the other knee in. And then softly drop your knees to the side as if you're rolling over in bed. So there's very little effort required. You just roll onto your side, and then you can use your top hand and your underneath forearm to gently press yourself. Good. Now we're going to come into our first restorative yoga pose. So that part was just a little bit of sensing the body. We call it embodied mindfulness, just to bring the mind into the body and to start to relax our general energy. So now we're going to come into a pose called Supta Baddha Konasana, which sounds like a mouthful, I know, but it just means a reclined pose where we let the knees fall out to the side, we let the hips relax. So for that, what we're going to need to do is to place a brick or a book or a pillow or anything that you can just puff up to make a little height where your head's going to be. And then you're going to lift your bolster and place the bolster up on the block. You might feel that this is a ramp that is too low down for you to lay back without feeling fully supported. So you might want to create more of a ramp by turning the prop up or adding more things. That's for you to decide, okay? So you choose how high you want this to be. You probably won't know until you come to sit down. So feel free to try and trial and error, really, that's what it is. Try things out and see if they work. Then we're going to bring ourselves around to the front of the bolster and sit with the bottom by the bolster. And then I'm going to take whatever props I have, the blocks or the pillows, and place them in between the space between the ground and your outer thighs, close in towards the hips, so that when I let my knees flop out to the side and my soles of my feet are together, there is support underneath there. Again, you have to try out, see for yourself how much support you need so that you can be really comfortable. And then you're going to lay yourself down, and the final little piece of equipment that you may or may not need is a headrest for yourself. So a pillow is a headrest. So I'm just going to plop that there. You might need to roll it up and make it quite puffy. It's up to you. And then I'm just going to lay down and let my body relax. And I'm going to bring my blanket over the top of myself so that I'm really nice and cozy. And then I'm going to close my eyes and just relax. And so when you're in this pose, when you're getting into this pose, do take as much time as you need to ensure that you really are properly comfortable. So it's fine to fidget, move around, come up, alter things, go back down, and then you'll find the sweet spot where you can really just be still and quiet. So we're going to take about 5 slow, deep breaths together today in this pose. Usually we'd stay for around about 10 to 15 minutes here. So we're just going to take around about 2 to 3 breaths to start to prepare the mind to come out of this position. So we never move quickly or abruptly, but the moment that we think about moving out of this pose, we give ourselves time and space before we actually move. Just gently begin to wiggle the fingers. And I like to bring my hands close into my body. And then I would lift my knees, very simply, one thing at a time, never rushing. And then I might just gently push the blanket away. And rather than sitting straight up from this position where it becomes kind of a stressful way to sit up, you strain to sit up if you sit directly up, I do the same as I did before. I'm just going to move that block out of the way. I'm going to drop my knees to the side, and then I'm going to support the weight of my body through my arm and come down onto the side, resting there for a moment, and then I can push myself up so that there is lots of calm, peace, and no stress or pressure.
Thank you so much, Emma. I hope you can join us, as Emma just mentioned, at the Brighton Yoga Festival on the 23rd of July, Brighton Dome Con Exchange. And also join me again for another episode of For the Love of Yoga.